No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin, or his background, or his religion. People must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can learn taught to be love. And for love comes more naturally to human heart than its opposite. Very clearly he stated that we are not born with the hatred. We are born with the first emotion is to love, and then hatred is nurtured by the society. So love comes naturally to us, not the other one. Even in the grimmest time in the prison, when my comrades, my co-fighters, I were pushed to our limits. We were beyond our abilities. I would see the glimmer of humanity in one of the guards. There was some sort of hope of humanism, humanity, humanitarian that he had. The guards, although they were serving white people, but they had some kind of humanity, kindness inside them. So he very nicely he concludes that perhaps just for the second, maybe for short duration, but he had some kind of humanity in his eyes. But it was enough to reassure me, to keep me going. Was a boosting factor. It was encouraging factor to go ahead for the freedom struggle of South Africa. Now there is an important line: men's goodness is a flame that can be hidden but never extinguished. Men, they are all people are good. You may have goodness covered by something, might have gone deeper beneath something, but it is maybe hidden, but it is never put off, it is never put out, it is never extinguished. In life, every man has twin obligation to his family, to his parents, to his wife, children, and he has an obligation to his people, his community and country. Obligation is duties. You have responsibility towards one another, to family and society. In civil and human society, each man is able to fulfill those obligations. Now, in civil society, we fulfill our duties. That is a way of surviving on this land according to their own inclination and abilities. But in the country like South Africa, it was almost impossible for a man of my birth and color to fulfill both those obligations for the family and for the country. Now this is very pathetically he expresses that in my country of my color people could not do their responsibilities and duties properly. In South Africa, a man of color who attempted to live as a human being was punished and isolated. They were not able to live like a human being. They were isolated from their family. They were imprisoned. So he's saying we could not fulfill our duties for the family as well as for the country. In South Africa, a man who tried to fulfill his duty to his people was inevitably ripped off from the family and his home and was forced to live a life apart, a twilight existence of secrecy and rebellion. A statement to understand that if somebody tries to break their laws or outlaw them, they were punished. Their powers were snatched off. They were ripped off from their household duties also, and they were put behind the bars for twilight existence. The very short life. Which kind of life? Twilight existence. Short life with which kind? What is twilight? When sunlight goes off and moon comes up, the evening time, that is called twilight. That kind of life, like a rebellion in the prison. I did not in the beginning chose to place my people above my family. But in attempting to serve my people, I found that was prevented from fulfilling my obligation as a son, as a brother, a father, or a husband. I was not born with hunger to be free. I was born free, free in every way that I could know. Now he, you know, become nostalgic about his past life, and he says, I was free. I was like every child in South Africa. They were having no knowledge about what is freedom. They were freed. They were very nicely doing everything. Free to run in the fields near my mother's hut, free to swim in the clear stream that ran through my village, free to roast maize. Maize is nothing but the popcorn kind of thing under the star and ride the board back on the slow moving bulls and cows and buffaloes. You might have seen people riding on those in villages. As long as I obey my father, abide by my custom of my tribe, I was not troubled by laws of man or God. See, he is saying, when my limitations were restricted, when I was restricted to my village, I was not bothered by anybody. It was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion. Now, this is again good line. Illusion means deceptive. It's a fake. It's something that appears to be real, but it is not. So it is my freedom, boyhood freedom is an illusion, because that is not true freedom. When I discovered as a young man that my freedom had already been taken away from me, that I began to hunger for it. At first, as a student, I wanted to freedom from myself. The transitory is not permanent phase of freedom of being able to stay out at night, read what I pleased, go where I chose. Later, as a young man in Johannesburg, I yearned for the basic and honorable freedoms of achieving my potential and earning my keep. He wanted to work according to his abilities, and of marrying and having a family, the freedom not to be obstructed in lawful life. My freedom should not be hindered or obstructed by anybody, but there were many obstacles when the country was not free. But then I slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers, sisters were not free. I saw that it was not just my freedom that was curtailed, reduced, diminished, but the freedom of everyone who looked like I did. That is when I joined the African National Congress, and that is when hunger for my own freedom became the greater hunger for the freedom of my people. It was this desire for freedom of my people to live their lives with dignity and self-respect that animated my life, that acted to boost me, that encouraged me, that gave a trigger to my life to carry on my protest, to carry on my rebellion mode, that transformed a frightened young man into a bold one. So he is saying, I was very meek and humble and quiet fellow, but when I saw there is a desire for freedom for my people who are living around me, then that frightened or scared young man became a bold one that drove a law-abiding attorney to become a criminal. From whose eyes he was criminal? From the white people who were ruling, he became criminal. He was attorney before, he was a lawyer before, but now he became a criminal that turned a family-loving husband into man without a home. So he was imprisoned and taken away from the family. That forced a life-loving man to live like a monk. So he was living a very sound life, but now he became like a monk. Like gave away austere life, gave away everything, all the luxuries and everything for the sake of his struggle for freedom. I am no more virtuous or self-sacrificing than the next man, but I found that I could not even enjoy the poor and limitation freedom I allowed when I knew my people were not free. Freedom is indivisible. Freedom cannot be divided, that you are free, you are not free. It should be uniform for everybody. The chains on any one of my people were the chains on all of them. The chains on all of my people were the chains of me. Because he considered others' pain his pain, others' imprisonment his imprisonment. So, this is what the leadership qualities you should always take forward. From Nelson Mandela. I knew that the oppressor must be liberated just as surely as oppressed. Now, this is an important line to understand. Oppressor should be also liberated. From what? Oppressor is somebody who is dominating, discriminating, who is torturing you. Should be also liberated from his ideology. He should be, no, he's under something influence that is dominating him to oppress somebody. Should be also liberated, as well as somebody who is oppressed, somebody who is suppressed. So oppressor as well as oppressed, both needs liberation. You need to understand that. Oppressor, why? Because he should be free from his ill mentality. He should be liberated from his things what he is nurturing from long. A man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. He is locked behind the bars of prejudices, strong dislike without any good reason, and narrow-mindedness. Something not broad-minded, not accepting anything is narrow-mindedness. I am not truly free if I am taking away someone else's freedom. You cannot breach other men's freedom if you want to really enjoy your freedom. You should be free and let others be free. Just as surely as I am not free when my freedom is taken from me. The oppressed and oppressors are alike robbed of their humanity. This is all about this chapter.